So Dana Rohrabacher goes on MSNBC, and he's going to talk to Ed Schultz, and he's going to say that, you know what, he's figured out who's at fault for the violence in Iran. You want to take a wild stab at it? I think you know what's coming here. Let's watch.
Okay, so the president made no headway today at all at his press conference. Is that what I'm hearing?
Let me put it this way. He ratcheted up the language a little bit, but if he would have been talking even a little bit tougher a few days ago, we might not have been seeing the violence and bloodshed of this repressive regime in Tehran in the last 2 days.
Congressman, let me get this straight. You're saying that if President Obama had talked tougher, there wouldn't have been death in the streets in Iran? Let
me tell you something. The North Koreans and the Iranian mullah dictatorship, yeah, when the president talks tough with them, they are less certain of themselves and less likely to commit these acts of violence against their own people.
So you're blaming President Obama for what's going on in Iran?
I'm blaming President Obama for not doing what he could have done. I'm blaming the death and destruction on the mullahs there.
Okay.
It's our job to make sure those people know that we're against those mullahs.
But I thought I just heard you say that if President Obama had spoken out stronger earlier, there wouldn't have been the death in the streets. Did I not hear that?
That doesn't mean he's responsible for that. He's responsible for his own actions.
So he could have. So you think that President Obama could have curbed the action? Is that right?
His own actions and his lack of a tough statement early on gave them the impression of weakness, which emboldened the mullah dictatorship. I think we should have been. It'd be like Ronald Reagan going to the Berlin Wall and saying, "Mr. Gorbachev, that's your business over there. We don't have any business doing this." Of course, Gorbachev wouldn't have permitted the wall to come down then.
Okay.
You know, I've had enough of this nonsense about Ronald Reagan. Okay. He said, tear down that wall. Well, that was really tough. You know what Ronald Reagan did? He sold weapons to this Iranian government. He sold weapons to the Grand Ayatollah illegally. And he funneled the money to the Contras. You want to talk about Ronald Reagan? Look, there are legitimate reports out that Ronald Reagan, before the election in 1980, reached out to the Iranian government and said, do not give us our hostages back until I'm in charge, and then I'll funnel weapons to you. And which, by the way, there are reports out that he did right afterwards, and then he certainly did during the Iran-Contra affair. You know what Reagan would have done? He would have sold those mullahs weapons. That's what he would have done. How do I know? Because he did it. So don't give me this nonsense about what Reagan would have done. And now, you know, when I read the headline on that story, I thought, come on, is Rohrabacher really going to say it's Obama's fault? They're probably stretching it, right? They're maybe taking him out of context. But no, as he repeated himself 2-3 times, he was saying, if he had talked tougher, you know, then the Iranian government might not have done this. Yeah, because Khamenei's sitting there going, what is Obama saying? Oh my God, that was really tough by Obama. Guys, do you think we should beat the living crap out of these protesters? No, let's let them run wild instead, because I'm so scared of what Obama said. Hey, Rohrabacher, you schmuck, what does talk have anything to do with it? The question is, are you going to back it up? Now, if you say to me, hey, we can scare the Grand Ayatollah if we threaten force, like I've been saying, the 82nd Airborne, or we're going to do an invasion. But these are outlandish ideas. Even Rohrabacher is not going to be in favor of those. So if you're not going to threaten force, why do you think that the Grand Ayatollah would be scared? Oh my God, look at what Obama said. How can you be that stupid? How can you actually believe that? Come on, man. Some common sense. This Republican Party is a goddamn joke. It really is.